test, test, test. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Hello.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's so nice to be with you on this wonderful Erev Shabbat together. It's great to be with you too, Rabbi. Okay. Off to a great start. This is our first Shabbat back with the two of us together. I missed you.
I missed you.
I missed you.
I didn't really miss you, but I missed you.
I missed you. It's nice. You went.
I missed all of you.
You went farther up north, and I went west.
Yes, you went. I would prefer to have gone west.
Yeah, I went west. I went to Arizona, and then I went to. I struggled and went to La Jolla.
Yeah, rough. Very rough.
Yeah, that's where the rabbinic conference was that I went to, and so good choice, CCAR, to take us to La Jolla, because La Jolla.
The ACC had it there, I think, I think I missed that.
But it wasn't just now. I was just there. I was just in La Jolla. It's really nice in La Jolla. It's very nice. I think I'm moving to La Jolla.
Yeah? Take me with you.
Oh, great. Okay, great. Hello. For those of you in the congregation, make sure you have a prayer book, a Siddur, Mishkan Tefillah. I should say that on the cover. Make sure you have the one that says Shabbat on it, also on the cover. So Mishkan Tefillah, and it should say Shabbat. Make sure it doesn't say weekday and festival on your cover. Those of you on our live stream, we hope it's working. I think it's working, which is great. We've had some struggle with the live stream, but I think it's up and functional. I believe the title is incorrect. It says test, but it's live and you're at the right service. If you want to join us and fully participate in our service, we'd love that. You can go to our website, cbiboca.org, cbiboca.org. Top left corner, hit menu. Beneath the menu, there are services. Beneath services, it'll take you down. If you go down a little bit to Shabbat, you'll see there's a scroll down. There's a picture of the cantor, and next to it there's another button you can press that takes you to a virtual prayer book, and then you can pray along and chant along with us throughout the whole service on this fine Shabbat, this fine Erev Shabbat. So our service today is at 6:15. Just as a reminder, we'll mention it to you also before we go probably, but next week's service is also at 6:15, even though that's typically not what we do. It's usually the first Friday of the month at 6:15, and the other Fridays are at 7. So next week is special because
It will be Disney Shabbat.
so Disney Shabbat is going to be next week, and so 6:15 also. Mickey and Minnie, I believe, are going to be leading the service. So, is that what you said?
I have no problems taking off next
Great.
Friday
Okay. Great.
night,
Okay.
if
Great.
that's what you
Okay.
want.
Super. So, just so you know, next week, 6:15 also. So those of you on our live stream, those of you here also know that. We're going to continue with our Shabbat service with the lighting of Shabbat candles. That can be found on page 2 in your Siddur, either your physical Siddur or your virtual Siddur. And it is a pleasure to bring up our youth team to light Shabbat candles. Those of you who have been with us these several months already know and love Rachel Sherman, a religious school director. And now we are thrilled to introduce you to Annie Rosenthal, who is our youth engagement professional. And we'll be starting with, she's visiting now, but she'll be joining us officially on July 1. But this is, so, what's that? Yes. Yes. Do you say yes? Yes. Yay! Okay, so we're going to have our candles lit by our youth team.
That's what Steve's back feels like right now.
Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Now that our candles are lit and the presence of Shabbat and the Shabbat bride can be amongst us, moving us away from the hard, difficult part of our week into the soft sweetness of Shabbat, we appreciate sanctifying that time of Shabbat, and we further sweeten it with the words of Kiddush that we continue with on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho me'ahava v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'acharta v'iltanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen.
And so now that our Shabbat has been sanctified and sweetened, we get to experience and connect with our section of Kabbalat Shabbat, the section we have to bring in our Shabbat bride to energize our next 25 hours, where the challah should taste better and the study should feel stronger and our rest should feel even more complete. We continue with Zamru, which can be found on page 16. On page 16 at the top of the page. We continue with Kabbalat Shabbat, with perhaps the crown of Kabbalat Shabbat, the crown that Shlomo Halevi thought in that 16th century while dwelling in Tzfat, that he too wanted to connect with the Shabbat bride and to invite her into our midst. And so we will do that, and we will continue with Lecha Dodi, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And then we will welcome in the Shabbat bride in verse 9 as we stand and turn to welcome her on the back of the entrance for verse number 9. Again, page 20, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, standing for verse number 9, Lecha Dodi.
Echad
Please be seated. We continue with Chatzi Kaddish, which can be found on page 26.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעולמה דברה חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה, בגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם לא מהמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקדושה בריחו לעילה. מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעולמה, ואמרו, Amen.
Continue now not only with the words of Baruch Hu, but the words in the idea of preparation for our Baruch Hu, of are we awake, are we prepared, are we listening, as together we stand on page 28 for the Baruch Hu.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? La 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 la
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv ערבים, בחוכמה פותח שערים, ולפני משנה עתים, מחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם, ברקיע כרצונו. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening, Baruch atah Adonai, ma'ariv ערבים. We continue on page 33. At the bottom, let's alternate paragraphs. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things our Torah gives to us. The more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than the holiest of your works and living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema 34:35.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed.
Please be seated. We continue Vahafta on page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, that there is one God in heaven and earth. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing at the shores of the sea. Micha Mocha on page 40. ונאמר כי יפדה אדוני את יעקב וגואלו מן החזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. That was Nichols, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. So, we keep talking about Dan Nichols.
We always do.
We always do, because we love Dan Nichols. And I think we're getting close.
We're really close.
We're getting close.
Really
we're
close.
pretty sure that he might be coming here. So I'd say we're more than 50% down this path. Wouldn't you say?
Like 75%.
75%.
Yeah.
So 75% Dan Nichols will be
February.
joining us
Sometime in February.
sometime in February. Who is Dan Nichols?
Dan Nichols wrote that Micha Mocha and about 1,000 other pieces. And he's just a leading composer, singer, song leader in the Reform movement, and he's part of a band called 18, and he also has his own solos. He's just a wonderful, incredible musician, but also spiritual leader. He's amazing.
We're going to have him come in for 4 months.
Yes.
And just have him run the shul. We're going to have him just teach everything. Yeah, we're probably going to have him actually come for as much as we can, probably a whole weekend, so he can do a Friday night, do a teaching, and then spend time with us and do a concert, and then perhaps the plan, right, is that's the plan. That's the plan. So, early plug, and if you've not heard anything by him, you can
just did.
You can Google him, and it's Nichols, Nichols. Nichols, not like.
You know he's a Jew by choice.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. It's not with Nichols like the dimes. Nichols. N-I-C-R-H-I-L-S. So, yes, Dan Nichols. We're now going to transition and think of the safety and the shelter that sometimes we take for granted. Clearly, we've been, unfortunately, talking about the Ukraine for way too long, and the horrible situation that continues from Putin onto the innocent people of Ukraine. And so when we are so blessed to have the shelter and the coverage and the peace, we should think of those and pray and defend those who are fighting against enemies, anyone who's fighting against illness or war or famine or sorrow, that these particular words of Hashkivenu are here to blanket us, to bring some comfort for us in this time, so that we can, God willing, wake up renewed and appreciate how much God does take care of us and guard us in of our goings, in our comings, to life and to peace and to evermore. Hashkivenu is on page 42. We continue now with the Amidah on page 46, and together we stand.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagi tehilatecha Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Koneh Hakol V'Zocher Chaste Avot V'Imahot U'Mevii Geula Livnei V'neihem Le'man Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ezrat Sarah Atagi bor le'olam Adonai Mechaye hakol atarav lehoshia Mashiv haruach u'morid Hashem Mechalkel chayim bechesed Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim Zomech noflim verofei cholim Umatir asurim Umekayim emunato lishenei afar michamocha ba'al gevurot umido melach melech memit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua v'neman atale hachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehallelujah selah Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
We continue silently now, beginning on page 52 through page 62. When you are finished, please be seated. We continue on page 60.
Shalom Rama Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. 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 Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rama Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rama Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Mitzvah beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rama Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rama Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
It's a bunny rabbit. It's a bunny rabbit. That's what I wanted to say, which is amazing. Thank you. That was it. Shabbat Shalom is a bunny rabbit. So speaking of children, when we were awaiting the first of our two children, who are sitting right there now, one's 14, one's 11. They're sitting right there. We weren't sure if they're going to be boys or girls. We didn't want to find out. We wanted to be surprised because we wanted to be happy no matter what. It was one of those good surprises, and they happened to be boys. So great. However, we made a decision that whether they were going to be boys or girls, we were going to do the covenant blessings with them on the 8th day, no matter what. So if there was a boy, we'd do a bris. If it was a girl, we were going to do on the 8th day, we're going to do the baby naming on the 8th day, because we've really figured that boys and girls are equal, and the sort of power of that 8th day is the power of that 8th day, and wouldn't make a difference. So it happened to be boys, instead there were brises, but nonetheless, we were going to do the 8th day baby naming Brit Bat, the ceremony that enters a girl into our covenant too, into the covenant as well. So the 8th day is intriguing because it does, of course, incorporate this idea of the 8th day of the Brit Milah. We know on the 8th day, it says in our text that we're supposed to do the circumcision. It says so right in this week's Torah portion. And this Torah portion is called Tazria. Sometimes Tazria is matched up with its also equally interesting buddy named Metzorah. This year, because of how the calendar falls, because there are Adar 1 and Adar 2, they're separate, and so we get 1 week of Tazria and 1 week of Metzorah. which if you know what they're about, we get 2 weeks of it. And that is skin disease and ointment creams and like infections and skin irritations and the birth, the whole intricacies of birth of boys and girls. And so nothing is better than for a bar bat mitzvah to land on this week's Torah portion. Some kids talk about Noah's Ark. Some kids get to talk about menstruation. And because that's his Duke's Torah portion. It's in the Torah. We don't make the decision. So the rules this week talk about cleanliness and uncleanliness, and not in terms of like washing your hands, but in terms of spiritual cleanliness and what happens when a boy is born, when a girl is born, and how many days is cleanliness, is his period, and all this stuff, and all these details surrounding the weirdness of this Torah portion. And so I usually mention her name in Torah study, but I rarely mention her name here. Her name is Adrienne Levine, Dr. Adrienne Levine. She was my Bible professor when I was in school. She's a brilliant professor still. She actually goes by the nickname of Ace, because she was also very good apparently at when she was playing cards. But she's also I've never played cards against her. But and so Ace always told us her favorite book in the entire Torah was the book of Leviticus. She said, no one likes Leviticus except for me. So she said, if I ever hear you speaking badly about the book of Leviticus, she said, I will find you, is what she told us in class. So Adrian, if you're out there, I love the Torah portion. And I love the whole book of Leviticus. So why the Brit Milah? Why go into this whole story about the Brit Milah? Why do we do it? Why is there circumcision? It's kind of odd. It's kind of weird. It's sort of out there, particularly in the time period. There are a million different commentaries that can explain to us why there is the circumcision, why the Brit Milah. And so leave it to the great Rabbi Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory to bring us this interesting perspective on why there's Brit Milah. So he writes this. He writes to the place to begin is a strange midrash, a strange story, according to an encounter between a Roman governor, whose name let's call him his name was Rufus. We'll call him Rufus, and Rabbi Akiva, very famous rabbi. So Rufus began the conversation by asking whose works are better, those of God or those of man? So Rufus asks Rabbi Akiva, what's better? Whose works are better, those of God or those of man? And surprisingly, Rabbi Akiva says, those of man. And right, those of man. And Rufus responded, but look at the heavens and the earth. Can a human being make anything like that? And Rabbi Akiva said, no. We're not, that's an unfair comparison. He said, because God can only create heaven and earth. So Rufus says, okay, give me an example that is more human. So Rufus said, what about circumcision? That's human. Why do we do circumcision? And so Rabbi Akiva he replied and he said, I knew you were going to ask the questions. I'll give you a story to answer your story. He said, listen to this. He said, what if I set before you grains or actual cakes? Would you rather have the grains or would you rather have the cakes themselves? The unprocessed grain is the work of God, but the cake is the work of man, is what he said. Is it not more pleasant to eat cake than just raw grain into your mouth? I guess it depends who you ask. So thus he made his point. And why do I bring this point to you? to take us away from the weirdness of the Torah portion and the skin disease and the cleanliness and uncleanliness of the time period for whether a boy is born or a girl is born. I want us to take this idea that Rabbi Sachs brings to us and look at it this way. What he says is that God does make the grain, but it's us that turns it into cakes, which means that there has to be a partnership between us and God. God can't just create everything. We have to be God's emissaries. So I actually think that this week's Torah portion is much deeper than just looking at the surface of how maybe uncomfortable it is or how gross it might be because of the intricacies it goes into regarding skin disease. I think instead, it takes us down a different path, and that is of this idea that miracles are wonderful and lovely and pretty, but it's really only going to work if we help to facilitate miracles. Great things can happen in the world, but only if we are partners with God in helping those miracles come to be. On the 8th day, for instance, we don't make it significant unless we make it significant. We don't make a day special unless we go out of our way as humans to make the day special. And so, this is why Akiva outsmarts Rufus and shows him that truly it's both. It's both God, but how humans interact. And so I want us to think about this on Shabbat, on how are we partners with God? Are we partners with God? Do we step away? Do we just let God do things and think, ugh, I'm so mad at God, I'm so upset at God? Or do we put ourselves into that relationship and become partners with God, and then we can interact in a different way? Just as a small example of this, of course, at CBI happening right now, a way you can partake in this physical action is that we are amidst our spring Feed the Community. And so you can bring still particular items to CBI for us to be able to donate. That is being part in partnership with God. And so on this Shabbat, I ask us not only to look at this Torah portion in sort of the same way we may year after year after year in the, oh, please no, please, if there's like a lottery of Torah portions, please make sure it's not this one, please make sure it's not this one. But instead, look at it differently and think that what I think it's showing us is that even in these intricacies, we connect to the godliness of them in our partnership. So I hope our Shabbat is filled with not only Shabbat for ourselves, with our families, but also finding ways to be partners with God. Shabbat Shalom. Hopefully not from any sort of skin disease, but we're going to think of those who need a healing now. Hopefully not. So we continue in a moment. You can start to head there for Mishaberach. It's on page 253 in your Sidurim. We think of Chavalea Bat Esther, Gary Bendel, Daniel Bernstein, Gloria Bernstein, Lillian Bushell, Sloan Caston, Brian Church, Karen Coles, Chuck Curry, Cheryl Cutler, Casey Daskell, Mark Davis, John Day, Jaden Deal, Jill Gottlieb, Judith Dratler, Margot Engel, Bobby Fitchman, Herbert Fitchman, Gene Frankel, Rhoda Friedman, Stuart Fruman, Martin Edelman, Chava Reina Bat Esther, Ellen Hedrick, Larry Horn, Paulette Howard, Irv Horowitz, Stan Jacobson, Ira Kafka, Shirley Kafka, Gary Kane, Bonnie Kleinman, Michelle Kingen, Esther Rhoda Kaufman, Stuart Kruger, Gloria Land, Rochelle Liebman, Michael Stephen Linder, Michael Medoff, Yankel Yitzchak Ben Moshe, Barbara Newmark, Lynn Greenblatt Neuwirth, Arno Plotsky, Gloria Plotsky, Elliot Porwich, Mark Rosenberg, Howard Rosenbluth, Richard Rosenbluth, Chuna, Ben Ruth, Moshe Ben Sarah, Lexi Schlessenberg, Jason Seidman, David Schwartz, Ezra Shashua, Matthew Smith, Diane Spiro, Gloria Spiro, Svia Batliba, Tamara, Barbara Weiss, Ashley Weiss. And to those names, we had any name that you would like to add at this time. Mishberach again, 253.
Misheberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say
Tomorrow morning at 8:30 will be our Torah discussion and service that will be on Zoom. Still, we are just waiting on some final components to be put together in the chapel.
like sound.
Like sound. Once that's put together, then we should be able to return in person to the chapel for our service, but we probably do need sound. Well, some would probably prefer that maybe only Cantor Muchnick has sound. I don't have the sound.
I didn't say it.
But we probably need to have both. So that's tomorrow morning. Like we said, next week, for those of you who might have come in a little late or coming onto the Zoom a little late, next week's services are at 6:15, even though they usually might be at 7 or 6:15. We have our Disney Shabbat, and then I think it's also
Chardonnay.
It's Chardonnay Shabbat next week also. So it's a combo. So come for Chardonnay Shabbat and for Disney Shabbat, and I think that the food might be Disney-ish. Possibly, yes?
Which
I'm getting,
simply means it's going to be really expensive.
yes. Very nice. Yeah. It's very nice. Maybe there'll be churros and popcorn and turkey legs. Yeah, yay. Everyone loves a churro and a turkey leg together. Yeah. So that's next week. It's a combo, and then coming up, we also have our confirmation will be coming up, and our graduation will be coming up. So, thank you very much. Congregational Seder is coming up, so please join us. So, thank you. Several things. So Friday night of first Seder, the first Seder is Friday night, so there'll be no services.
April 14th.
April 14th. Thank you very much. No services Friday night. Neither in person, neither virtual, because it's going to be, what's that?
15?
15th, thank you.
Sorry, 15.
Thank you, Amy. 15th. I was like, what is she doing? She was like, hey. She's like, hey, everybody. She was like, oh, that was 15. So it's the 15th, it's Friday night. You'll know, it's Erev Pesach, don't come. Stay at home with your family and your friends. If you don't have somewhere to go, by the way, tell us and we'll make sure that everyone's going to have a place for Seder. So if you don't have a place for Seder, we'll make sure you have a place for Seder. That's on Friday night. Shabbat morning, 10 o'clock. So there's no 8:30 service on Zoom that morning, only a 10 o'clock morning festival service in this very room on the 16th. And then that evening, if you'd like to join us for second night Seder, it's available, congregational second night Seder, under the stars. It'll be under the tent, catered by our amazing caterer. And I think space is limited, totally kosher, dinner, all kosher, all Pesach, everything will be really great. So that's what's coming up. And then Shavuot and confirmation and all kinds of other cool things. So is that it? I was going to say, our SLJ director is here. What can we add?
Sure. Also, during second night Seder, if you have any little ones or I would say younger members of your family who will be joining you, we have the great Afikoman hunt that will be taking.
Why don't you come over here? Come over here. Come over here. That way people will hear you and see you.
Thank you. Oh, wait for the live stream. That makes sense. So for second night Seder, as well, we will be having the great Afikoman hunt. So if you have younger, I would say grandchildren or children that will be joining you, we just picked some stellar prizes. So we're really excited. Kellers, you up for it? I think you're ready. Awesome. And additionally, this upcoming Sunday, we have our Club 345 event. It will be Minute to Win It challenges, co-led by Miss Annie Rosenthal, who's going to be visiting as well. So we're so excited to have her. And next Sunday, immediately following religious school, that's the 10th, we have our Club 678 Amazing Race program. So if you're in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, please join us for some fun, also for prizes too. Thanks.
And if they want to, there's elections, right? So if they
Yes. And it is hard to believe, but it's that time of year that our youth group, our busy board, will be turning over again. So if you are in 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th grade, you have the option to run, to try out your hand at being a leader in our community, helping to plan events. We encourage you to take a look. Definitely be in touch with me via email or by phone. And we would love to get you set up. It's a great way to try out some new things and make an impact on your community. So thanks.
We'd like to now invite every one of you individually to come up here and share some announcements with the congregation. So you plan, everyone gets 6 minutes. We'll be out of here in no time. It'll feel like nothing except a lot of time. We're going to begin to conclude our service. Aleinu and Kaddish. Aleinu can be found on page 282, 282. Together we stand.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
As we transition our thoughts now to Kaddish Yatom, to Mourner's Kaddish, we think of those in the period of Shloshim, the immediate 30-day mourning period. Don Mark Rubin and Malvin Cutler. We also think of our yortzeits that occur for us this week here at Congregation B'nai Israel. Roslyn Avrith, Abe Bandel, Ethel Borg, Sylvia Cowan, Leila Fallett, Norman Fallett, Gloria Firsty, Meyer Flansbaum, Eugene Fox, Simon Chrysler, Lorraine Massler, Concetta Pecora, Alan Posner, Francis Siegel, Suzanne Siegel, Herman Weintraub, Solomon Wexler, Betty Claire Whitus. To those names, we had any name that you would like to add at this time? Kadisha Tome Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei rabbah, v'almad yivrach cherutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayeichon v'yomeichon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevorach leolam olmei olmaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. Please be seated. We conclude on this fine Erev Shabbat with Shalom Aleichem, which can be found on page 24. Shalom, and God to give strength onto our people, continue to bless us with hope and strength and love and peace. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom.